on this computer. Hello, all the homies out there. This is a very special recording once again with the beautiful Denitsa Appeline-Matic, and we've got Sarah Valentini, Reita Poyoinen, and we're going to have Janie Lavelle joining us very soon. We are the ReBELLES, we are calling ourselves, right? And it's been a little while in between recordings, and I thought I'd give you a quick little rundown why. So on the 18th of April, we had a recording book, all of us ladies, which, believe me, is no small feat, with 4 different time zones and 5 very busy homeopaths. And then the 17th of April, I got a call from my sister saying that my mum is not going to be around much longer. So the 18th of April, I hopped on a plane, flew to South Africa, and had the most amazing week with my mum. My whole pile of remedies went along. Paul Terrio's Wellwitchia went along. I emailed all the beautiful ladies in this group. We've got a beautiful little WhatsApp group going, and I was like, what remedy should I take, ladies? And all of you gave me the most incredible suggestions for remedies, and I felt so held by all of you. So firstly, thank you so much to all of you for this, helping me through this tricky time. My mum did pass on the 3rd of May, and it's been a really, really, really sad time, but it's been made so much easier and lighter by having all of you goddesses around me. And I really appreciate your love and your care and your advice and being held, even though we're on different sides of the world. Just want to say thank you so much to all of you. And from that, we are hoping to record, what did we say, the first Thursday of every month, I think we're going with, because we really do want to catch up regularly and share what we're all doing with all of you. I wish we could make our little WhatsApp group public, because there's some pretty epic conversations going there, and we're in touch with each other. Feels daily sometimes, at least, 2 or 3 times a week we're in touch with each other. We all get to hang out in Bali in September, which we're so excited about. So this is a very special collaboration of incredible women, and I'm so happy to once again have you all on the Homeopathy Hangout podcast. So welcome back, ladies.
Thanks, Eugenie.
Thanks. So Sarah, maybe I'll start with you. You and I have just been part of a proving of the remedy cassowary, which I think we're maybe a little bit like doubting whether it was a good idea to triturate this remedy. But from the beginning, I had this feeling this is going to be a pretty interesting one. Do you want to share with our listeners, quickly say hi, and then just share with our listeners, what's been happening?
Yeah, hi everyone. So Eugenie and I had a really great experience. Well, I guess it was great with the doing the trituration of the cassowary, and it was pretty cool because Eugenie's across the other side of Australia to me. So I gathered a group of homeopaths and homeopathic students, and Eugenie also gathered a group, and we triturated on the same weekend. So, and it was, I mean, just like any trituration, that there's always something profound that comes out of it. For me, so many profound things, I think. But just before everyone arrived, I was carrying some chairs down here into my clinic room for everyone to sit on, and I fell down a stair, just one stair, the bottom stair, and really hurt my foot. And I was like, oh, damn. And I rubbed it, and then I got up and I brought the chair in and went up and got 3 more chairs. And then over the day, everyone arrived, and everyone's kept keeping on looking at my foot going, your foot's looking really swollen. Anyway, turns out I fractured a metatarsal on my foot. But I just carried on. I was taking Arnica 10M during the trituration, and it was all fine. So yeah, it was like, that was the beginning. And I think, Eugenie, you had an experience, like a couple of your people had
Yeah, one of them had a car crash on the way back, and then the next day Amy and I on our way to work were in a near car crash. And yeah, it's been interesting. I'm not trying to put anyone off doing triturations.
No. Yeah, in our group there was some texts going around going, oh, proving's a dangerous business, because actually the next day afterwards I reported how cranky I was with my husband, and then a few other people were like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, I can't." One of the attendants said, one of the provers said, "I can't stand my cat." And I love my cat. I don't have a husband, but my cat is really annoying me. And so we were all really like catty, except for the one man who attended. And he was just like, "Oh, wow, God, I was lucky to make it out of there alive with all of you crazy women." um, yeah, so I mean, it was a very interesting proving, because to me, I very strongly felt we triturated to C4 and Eugenie's group triturated to C5, but I felt that there is so much more in this remedy, and I really strongly felt at C3 that, oh, it was almost playing hide and seek with us. It was like popping out and then retreating and popping out in different ways, in a way that it was quite scattered, and that was the strong sense for me that it's like it's not going to show itself. We're going to have to work a little harder, which, after a broken foot and all of the things, I'm a little bit scared to go further. But what I intuitively feel is that would need to keep going to C17 in order to really feel like have completion for this remedy. And some big stuff might happen in that time. So, we're still writing that remedy up and kind of pulling it together, but it has been actually one of the really interesting thing was at C3 as well. One of the provers, I saw her age in front of my eyes, and one of the other provers also witnessed this. She just looked tired and grey and drawn, and one of her statements was, "I feel like I can just see my body as a carcass on the ground in front of me, and you're all sitting around it." And it was quite significant. And then as we were coming out of C3, and she said to me, something like, "Oh, did you notice me?" And I said, "Yeah, I feel like I watched you were kind of dying in front of my eyes." And she said, "Well, how did you feel about me dying?" And I was like, "Well, I guess I was a little concerned, but no, but how did," like, she was so insistent on knowing how I felt about how it looked, which was kind of, I felt really put on the spot, because I was like, "Well, I know that I knew you weren't dying, but it looked like you really were kind of fading away." And so, that was another really interesting aspect to this remedy. I think one of the things as well that to any kind of skeptics out there, so Eugenie's on the other side of the country to us, we're triturating at the same time, but one symptom that came up in common was the itching. So both of our
Yeah.
groups were super itchy, and itches that were moving around the body. And there was a couple of other synchronicities. I can't remember what they were right now, but that really does come out.
I think the biggest one was all of us just like the aversion to our husband and kids. Like it was just insane. It was like sepia on steroids.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And the cassowary as well. Like she mates, she lays the egg, she makes the nest, she lays the eggs, and she goes.
Mm.
She leaves the man to actually hatch the eggs and look after the hatchlings, and he looks after them for a year, and then he chases them away. So that's a really interesting part of the proving, for sure.
Definitely. And what's interesting is that I always, and anybody who watches the video of the podcast will always see me itching my nose. I have got the itchiest nose on the planet. I always like try to think of when it started, but I used to be a volunteer firefighter, and one of the fires I was in, I fell in a bush, and you can still sometimes like see a little bit of black soot there because the skin kind of grew over it. I think that's when it started, because I think I was a bit self-conscious of it, because people used to ask me if I had a pen mark on my nose because it looked like a pen mark. So I think that's where it started like 20 odd years ago. So you will always see me like itching my nose anyway. And so during the proving, I was really conscious of the fact that I was never itching my nose. And normally I'd be constantly itching my nose, and I was not itchy at all. And
Good.
everybody else was sitting there with itchy noses, itchy scalps, itchy everything. It was
Mm-hmm.
quite funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like, I'm just in talking about the synchronicity, because the last proving I did with the Golden Spiral group, with Denitsa's group, I did at the same time, but I wasn't online as everybody, with everybody. because it was late at night here and I was still dealing with my son. And then I was writing everything down as I was doing the meditation at the same time as the group. And then the next day or the day after, I sent through my notes, and Denitsa was like, "Did you watch the recording?" And I was like, no, but there were so many synchronicities. So it's an undeniable kind of relationship that happens, right, when we experience a substance in that way. Undeniable, if we're really ready to notice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I love that we had two provings going at the same time is the cassowary and the emu are the only two feathers on the planet that have this split spine, or whatever you call the middle part of a feather. And so when I interviewed Paul, I said, "Oh, I really want to triturate emu." And he was like, "No, it's already been done. But if you can do cassowary, that'll be great, because it's like the last bird I need for my book." And so I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so it turns out it's really hard to source a cassowary feather. I contacted zoos, I contacted wildlife centers, and then Sarah was like, "I've got this friend who's been to the Daintree, and she thinks she might have seen some feathers, because apparently they don't drop very many feathers either." Because the emu feathers that I got was from a lady who had a pet emu. She just walked past him and pulled some of his feathers out. But like, where are we going to get a cassowary feather? So it was really lucky that Sarah managed to source some.
It was, and that was the synchronicity as well, because I don't know what I'd mentioned, but somebody that I know had mentioned that they'd just been to the Daintree, and I was just like, okay. And then I contacted her, and she'd happened to be in a cassowary reserve or something, and she had some feathers, but her kids had the feathers and they weren't going to give them up. So she managed to get some more for us, which was just awesome, at all in the right timing.
Always, as always, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Reita, you've had some proving magic happening there as well, right?
Yes. So greetings from Helsinki and Homeopathy School, Helsinki. This water is from up Norway, from the Arctic Sea. So the name we gave to it is Aqua Marina Arctica. So two ladies got it from up there and blessed it. And it's from a place where witches used to be burned. And it's also from a place where whales go to die.
Wow.
So there's a sacredness about that place, really. So we did a trituration at school. Two of the students did it as their final work. And I think I was proving it like practically at the beginning of the year. I myself had a cold. I had a lot of allergy things with my eyes. And there was this thing like, aqua marina or seawater, it just cleanses everything that is not necessary anymore. So I've gone through like a really big transformation together with the school and just cleansed out everything that's not needed. And then there was this beautiful, kind of like helium as a homeopathic remedy has, that you're looking for the soulmate, but really the one and only soulmate. Or this Portuguese feeling of saudade, that somewhere on the other side of the ocean is the true love. So it was very romantic. We were crying a lot, and just like there was a lot of grief and letting go. And actually, there was a lot of dying happening also, like closed ones, but no accidents, but people that needed to go. And then people who had grief just gave up the grief. So yeah, it was really beautiful, because it felt like, the whales of all the oceans were there guiding us as grandmothers and holding space for a huge grief that the whole, mankind has. And it just felt like, phew, we just clean it out. And now we are in the Aquarian age with all the new energy, and, now we are upgraded and ready.
Oh, that sounds cool. Very, very cool. How many? So, because your students are about to graduate, aren't they?
Yes. So we have a group of 15 ladies, of which 5 are now getting their diplomas on Saturday, and the rest are going to be graduating in the autumn time. And one of the ladies, as her thesis, I will post it later. Her husband, when she started studying, her husband committed suicide. And she made a painting of 3 homeopathic remedies, which is like Gaudi, or, you know, so it's got Arsenicum album, the swan, and ayahuasca. I just saw it yesterday, and that was really like aquamarina and grief and all of it. And I'm so happy that she took, because in our school, you can be really artsy fartsy. We've been acting homeopathy and so on. So her thesis is the painting. And then she writes a story about, it's called Death, Hold My Hand. You know, it's very like, it's so beautiful. And she's done such a transformation in these 4 years that, and all of the ladies, you know, they've got like a, you know, waiting list for clients. And this is not typical for Finland. So I'm like, this group is very, very special to me. And Janie is going to be joining us. So we are teaching the sacred trees. So 3 remedies, Kabbalah, wood element together with that. And then Janie can talk about what she's teaching in the weekend. And then we will have a beautiful cacao ceremony for the students that are graduating. It feels like a great honor to birth them into this world.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. Janie is on a train at the moment, so I'm not sure if she'll be able to pipe in, but when she can, yeah, she definitely will. When I was with my mum, Reita, I was so wishing that you were there, and you know, because you have got such experience working as a death doula and with death and dying and everything else, and it was my first experience. My mum actually passed the week after I left. I was only in South Africa for a week. But it was actually such a sacred, special, beautiful time. And I'm so, so, so grateful that I could go. I think it'd be a very different experience if I didn't get to go back in time to be with her. But it made, when I left, the day before I left, the hospice people came over and they said, you know, so this is what we're going to do, and we're going to put you on morphine and da-da-da. And after they left, I said to her, Mum, please don't take the morphine unless you need to. You've got the Welwitschia there, you've got the Arsenicum 10M, please don't take it. Because, you know, like I always say, I don't know. I don't know what I would be like when I'm in that state, but I just feel like death is such a natural process, just like birth is. And that I've talked about on the podcast a few times. We medicalize death just as much as we medicalize birth, and it is a natural process. But she wasn't in that much pain, but she just couldn't sleep. And, you know, all that they have over there is morphine. And so, yeah, I don't know how much I can say, but it sounds like there was a bit of an overdose situation right at the end. And the nurse apparently quickly took the needle out and then just left, because they have this thing that they implant under the skin. And so it sounds like, you know, I don't know what the exact details was. It's just what I was told, but it really hurts my heart so much that that's how it went in the end. And everyone's got their own story and their own thing. And I wasn't there. So I'm a little bit helpless in that respect. But I really hope we can get to a place in this world where we have more death doulas and more people who use homeopathy with people who are transitioning to the next life, because homeopathy is so beautiful. And I saw the change the remedies made in her. You know, she had a huge tumor in her abdomen. It was standing out massively. And the ascites, I think it's called, ASCITES. I don't know how to pronounce it, ascites. So her belly was, really bloated, and the tumor was huge. So, you know, no amount of homeopathy was going to heal her, but she was so restless, just tossing around in the bed. And I give her Arsenicum 10M. And then, you know, within minutes, she was lying still and she was comfortable. And the ascites was so bad. And so we found a remedy. Now I just have to think of what it is, because I ended up finding it from a homeopath in South Africa while I was there. It's not one I'd used before, but it brought I'll think about it. Apocynem, it was apocynem. Yeah, and it just made the tummy, instead of it being so hard and bloated, it just made it soft. So it was still really large, but the belly was soft. And so it wasn't pressing so much on her organs. And every tiny little thing that she would try to swallow or eat, it would, you know, it would then make a burp, and then she would start to vomit. And that was the thing that was the most dangerous, because then she would end up in hospital. And, you know, like you couldn't really stop it once it starts. And so we gave her Carbo Veg, and I only had a small bottle of Carbo Veg. And so I bought some plastic little spray bottles, put 2 pillules in each spray bottle, had 4 bottles with a little bit of vodka and water. in various locations around the house. So whenever she had that sensation, there was a bottle near that I could grab and spray in her mouth, because the second you would spray that, it would stop the sensation of needing to vomit instantly, because there would be this burp and then she would want to vomit from the burp. So we would spray the carbo veg, it would stop that. And so there was zero vomiting. So, you know, like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking of a world where we have practitioners working in this way, where they are able to help people with homeopathy, you know, in stage of life for these various things. You're not going to cure that person, but you are making their life infinitely more comfortable. And so it was such a blessing to get to witness how homeopathy can be used even in that end stage. It's really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies, I just cannot believe that we get to see each other in person in Bali. Just so it's not long to go now. And even better is that Danitza and I get to hang out a little bit longer afterwards, because she's coming to Perth to present in person a becoming superhuman workshop. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that, Danitza?
Thank you very much, Eugenie. I am so excited about it. It's basically going to be 2 days exploring what it means to be superhuman. And the reason that I came to that, and actually I'm going to pick up on something you just were talking about. We're moving into a time, I think, in this world where we're just throwing off layer after layer after layer of stuff that has suppressed us, that's kept us from truly being powerful. And you were just talking about your dear mum, and Rita, I know that, you know, kind of as Eugenie said, you work as a death doula, and there've been these conversations around how do we have a graceful passing. And I've been thinking about that in relation to myself. You know, none of us know how long we've really got. And I've been really thinking about, actually, I don't want to be medicalized when it's my time. And I've been thinking about how when we think about our grandparents and our great-grandparents, they didn't that often have heart attacks or strokes. It was common for people to pass in their sleep. And we've forgotten that because of the medicalization. And to me, there's something about being whole in that. There's a when we are whole physically and mentally and emotionally, on some level, our soul can leave when it's time to transition more easily, I think. And for me, that kind of brings in the question of, well, if we're aiming to do that in terms of how we transition, then how do we do that when we move through all of life? And superhuman for me has come out of, I know every single one of us here and so many others have been on such a big journey about looking at what it means to be powerful, looking at what it means to truly be in our truth, live in our truth, speak our truth, work from a place of being in our truth. We're having some amazing conversations at the moment, which are around how do we practice as homeopaths in our truth, with the greatest capacity we have to be in service to make a difference to the lives of our patients and in the world. And for me, superhuman's about that. How do we throw off all those layers that remain? How do we step into being truly, completely and utterly aligned with ourselves so that we become, if you like, untouchable to the stuff that would make us doubt ourselves or question ourselves or limit ourselves in some way, shape or form? And actually, how do we celebrate how fucking amazing we are? And I've just done it. I've just sworn, for those who've never seen the behind the scenes WhatsApp chats, we all swear like troopers and sailors. What is it that makes us fucking incredible? How do we live and embody that? How do we connect with what really makes us radiate that fucking awesomeness? And for me, a lot of that is about exploring what our blueprint is. And I've been really kind of looking at that in terms of I'm about to publish another method of prescribing in terms of how we work called
Hang on, just pause. You have just published as well. We should talk about that too. Have just published a book. Yay, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's the second edition of Nature's Medicine Code, which basically is a book that's all about describing how, when we understand the simple mathematics of the universe, how when we understand how that applies to our bodies, to our health, and we make choices according to that simple mathematics, we can truly live healthy lives. It's full of practical ideas and what we can do. But I'm a nerd. I'm neurodiverse. I found out I have autism and ADHD, and I am obsessed with the maths of the universe and the mathematics of life, and actually how that transcends into the mathematics of our being and the geometry of our being. And so for me, being superhuman is about actually stepping into being completely aligned with our geometry and the mathematics of life that makes us powerful and strong. And so part of what we're doing on this 2-day journey in Perth, which is going to be incredible, is we're going to be really connecting with what it means when we're activating all of that geometry, when we're activating the maths within ourselves that aligns us with the mathematics of the universe. And that makes us actually, I think, quite invincible. So it's fun stuff. It's none of it's difficult or complicated, and all of it is just beautiful and stunning and remarkable and a real wow. And there are things that I'm bringing that I can't share because I'm going to bring some really amazing surprises for people to really experience what it means to transcend.
Venue.
Yeah, and the venue. So bringing some amazing things to just transcend the to really enable us to experience what it means when we transcend the 3D. It's really cool. And the venue, you can tell us about the venue.
Well, I read your body language wrong there before. I thought it was a gap, and that's why I said at the venue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, of course, absolutely.
The venue is absolutely beautiful as well. That's really renowned for its gorgeous, organic whole foods. And just saying it, Janie, Sarah, it's not too late. It's only 3 hours from Bali to Perth. So you might have to just tack on another trip. I know Sarah's hanging around for a while afterwards in Bali to have some family holiday time, but we are so excited to have you here, Denitsa. It's an incredible treat. So I'm sure it will be packed out, and there's only 40 tickets, so it's quite an exclusive event. So yeah, I hope our homies book in quickly. It's just on your website, hey, so they just go to denitsaappeline.com and they just click on, I think, events or something like that from memory.
Courses, yeah, there's a tab for courses and it's on there. Thank you.
And you have to tell us about your book as well. Tell us, because I just saw that the other day. I've ordered it on Booktopia here in Australia, and you it's not on Amazon. You were actually quite mindful about the places where you had it printed with. Tell us a little bit about the book. And I didn't even know, you didn't even tell us you were writing a book. Next minute I get a Facebook post, my book's been published. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, actually, I'm a little bit of a nerd because that's not actually the first book I've written, and there are other books.
Somehow I'm not surprised.
In fact, the next book that's coming out is also a second edition of a book that's already out there, which I did write in a weekend whilst working in a homeopathic pharmacy, and I didn't even know I was going to do it. I just it was just such a random thing. Like, I walked in on the Monday morning and everyone was chatting about their weekends, and they were like, "Oh, what did you do?" And I was like, "Oh." So I wrote a book, and everyone just dropped what they were doing and looked at me, and they were like, "You did what?" And I was like, "I just wrote." I can't help it. I go into flow, and I just
that was before ChatGPT when you wrote the others. So you can.
I don't use ChatGPT. So I love the mathematics of the universe and all of that stuff, and then we get into tech, and I'm like a total dinosaur. So I'm like, ChatGPT, I don't know what that is. So GPT, I keep confusing it. See, I don't know it. But yeah, Nature's Medicine Code, that for me was that was where my love of the golden spiral came in. I realized that the golden spiral, it's not just the golden spiral. That's not the only mathematics of the universe and of life. So when we come to superhuman, that's just going to be one aspect of what we do, and there's so much more. But I realized that the golden spiral is literally the unfolding of all of life, and it contains the mathematics, which is literally has been measured with the vibration of love. And I've talked about that so many times, and all of you have heard me talk about it. And for me, Nature's Medicine Code was, I was like, well, I realized that that's how the body recognizes if what we put into the body is good for us or not. Does it match? Does the code match? Do we have the same phi mathematics? Do we have the same geometry? And if we put something into our bodies that matches the expression of life and love, the body will go, oh yeah, I know how to use that. I know what to do with it. And then it will take it and do something wonderful. But the moment we put in something that doesn't have that mathematics, that doesn't have that vibration, then my theory is that we then go into trying to reject it, which puts pressure on the system. We get side effects if it's drugs, we get sick if it's food related. And so basically my book's a journey into saying, actually, how do we live in a world where we are literally only bringing into our bodies and lives food, medicine, life that resonates with this vibration of love as we see it in the nature and in life. And I wanted to make it fun because I always try to make everything I do fun. So when I do the practical stuff, I also talk about, everything from like food to architecture to cars, and I talk about sex and sex toys and condoms. So and the ingredients that we see in the world that perhaps don't mirror and match that vibration of love, and what the amazing choices are as an alternative. So yeah, that's
so when you said fuck, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to record an intro now with a warning. But now you're talking about sex toys, I'm definitely gonna have to put a warning on the intro. Damn it.
I just want to say, like, that I mean, you kind of, like, when you mentioned mathematics, I went, oh no, you've lost me. But when you just added that last bit, like, it just makes perfect sense. It's like the cell salts, like they meet us there. And actually for example, estrogen operates in our body at a level of 8x potency. So if we match that, that level, we also find resonance there in terms of, boosting estrogen or boosting any of the hormones as well. And I just love how you've extended that out into these other, like the flower of life and the spiral and the golden spiral. It's just now it's like blowing my mind.
Have you ladies listened to the Joe Rogan interview with Terrence Howard on the 19th of May? Oh, you have to go listen to it. He was talking homeopathy, but without talking homeopathy. So he talked about sacred geometry and mathematics and the square root of 2 and how the periodic table is actually all frequency, and how like there's actually no Big Bang, and like the way that, I'm not even going to try and explain it to you because it was so completely over my head. And of course, people are poo-pooing him because he's actually an actor, but he started the episode out with Joe Rogan's talking about how he remembers everything about being in his mother's womb and about his birth and everything else, and about how he was challenging his teachers with mathematics when he was like very young, from a very young age. And I actually interviewed Australian homeopath Mark Lambrick, and he wrote a book called Infinite Zero. Now, I read that book. It was like history on steroids. And then right at the end, he talks about infinite zero and how there's not actually such a number as zero. And it's completely gone over my head. But Terrence Howard talks about the similar thing, that there's actually the concept of zero is actually doesn't actually exist. And so I'm not even going to pretend to understand anything of what he said, but he did talk about elements. He talked about frequency. He talked about how there's a positive and a negative to everything. So there's up and a down and an in and an out. And that part of all of that really resonated with me and made a lot of sense. So you have to go listen to that episode. It was really interesting. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Janie can talk yet. Janie, whenever you can talk, just pipe up, hey? Poor Janie, I'm sure it's torture for her sitting there still, not saying a word.
It really is. It really is. It's torture. No, I can't really talk. I'm so sorry. I would love to, but it's really loud on here and not very private.
That's
it's
okay.
Amazing to be here.
We can actually hear you okay. And thank you so much for working so hard to source cacao for us for our cacao ceremony in Bali.
Oh, I know it arrived yesterday, Eugenie, and it was this whole huge box of of cacao, and my whole healing space was just intoxicated with the smell of chocolate. And I had actually been at my first doula client yesterday, so welcoming a life into the world, and it's the 11th birth that I've been at, so it felt really significant. And the first one being an official doula. And when I left the hospital, I stopped at my healing space and our cacao was there. So it was just that real sense of what we're birthing at the moment, in terms of, you know, bringing all these homeopaths together in Bali. I feel like it's such a huge and really significant step into kind of igniting, I guess, the collective energy of what we want to bring to humanity, this really deep energy of healing and the resonance of that healing and the ripple effect that it has when we all come together and set intentions. And that's a huge part of the focus for the ceremony that Reta and I are creating, co-creating together with the cacao, to use the cacao as a vehicle to not just heal ourselves and every homeopath that comes to the conference and our clients and our family, but to make that intention into a universal one and allow that a ripple effect to journey out, just like it when we titrate remedies. You know, that grinding and scraping in the pestle and mortar magnifies and intensifies the vibrational field of that substance. And that's why we can pick up on the healing capacity and the healing effects of it. So I feel just so totally blessed to have this opportunity, and yeah, to listen and sit with all you women. You're such warriors. My God, I'm so humbled listening to everything you're saying. I think everyone out there listening as well would just be.
Oh, I think she dropped out.
But my mum is actually really sick at the moment, so I'm considering heading back to New Zealand after Bali. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, but just to say that it's really, really exciting what's unfolding, and I'm just so happy to be part of so much. Amazing ladies.
When you were talking about the grinding and the scraping, it made me think to mention that while we were doing the trituration about the C2, it really, maybe C3, it really struck me actually what a masculine process trituration is. Like grind for 7 minutes, scrape for 3 minutes, grind for 7 minutes, scrape for 3 minutes. And because like it takes me a little while to kind of get into that meditative state that you're doing while you're triturating. And so I just found that, you know, it would take me like kind of 5 minutes to get into it. Then I just like be in it for a minute, and then I get the warning that there's 1 minute left, and, you know, then the bell would go, and then we would start scraping, and then, you know, try to get back into it. And I was thinking that the next trituration, which I would like to lead myself, because I kind of had another homeopath kind of co-leading it on our side. So I'd love to do the next one, leading it myself, and then giving everyone that hour of trituration to intuitively grind and scrape as you feel the need. Because I really didn't like it's funny because this was my third trituration that I've done. And the other 2 times it really didn't bother me at all. But this time, as I was doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't like this masculine process, or I don't know if I want to use the word masculine, dictative process of telling me when I need to grind and scrape. And I understand why there's a process for that. But I just felt I want to be given an hour, and then I want to sit there intuitively and grind and scrape as I feel the need. Can I blame like just everything for the next month on the cassowary? Do you think I'll get away with that? Yeah.
There's also something really amazing listening to everything that we're sharing in this session, because I'm really feeling that sense of transitions, but also community. And there's this real kind of transitions into the world and out of the world, but also it feels like this journey that we're all on together with homeopathy at the moment, which is so about community and about togetherness, and how we almost like rebirth ourselves. It feels like that feels very much what Bali will be. And And we're doing it together from across the world, which is incredible. That's the other piece. So there's this real kind of like transition and gathering to emerge into something new and even more beautiful and incredible. It feels really celebratory to me. I've been using the word celebration with you, Eugenie. There's this real, it feels like we're growing through things. You know, there's this invitation to really honor and see that. And together, you know, we're doing it together. It's really beautiful.
That is really beautiful. I don't know if you had celebration come up in your trituration, Sarah, but we had celebration and ceremony, and that there was a bit of a theme of that happening as well. So
yeah, we had
yeah.
that. We had somebody was hearing sacred drumming. And there was a bit of celebration, like someone was I think in C1 was like just feeling bubbly, and actually a few people wanted to dance as well. I can't remember C1, C2. So there was definitely that kind of celebratory.
You're giving me goosebumps, because that is, yeah, I definitely had that come up. And I didn't even tell you this, but I took my medicine drum with me, and I actually drummed everyone before we started triturating. And just had this real need for music, like, and I took the second day of the trituration, I took my Tibetan singing bowl along, because the first day the other homeopath used her phone alarm to tell us when it was time to stop scrape. And so the next day I took my bowl, and then I was timekeeping, and so I would just ding my bowl when it was time to, you know, triturate or scrape. And I just really felt this need for music and dancing and celebration and everything else as well. So it's going to be really interesting, because Sarah and her triturators are writing up their notes, and we're writing up our notes, and then it will be collated. And Paul Terrier is very excitedly sitting there, like waiting for the notes to include it in his bird book, which he's hoping to release by the end of the year. So he's like, come on, hurry up, hurry up.
He's doing such incredible work.
He really is.
Absolutely remarkable.
Look at us, ladies, like it's only 45 minutes in. Everyone's been very quiet tonight. What else would you like to add? And I know all of you have got some things to go to as well, so that's why we thought we'd keep it to an hour, because everyone's has got schedules.
I'd really love to kind of, you know, talking about the transitions and considering, you know, the birthing that Janie's been attending a birth, and the death that we've come across in these provings. And considering, you know, 2024 is there's so much of that in this year. There's so much change and so much letting go. And I see that in a lot of my clients as well, that are just going through really big transitions, like really opening up their awareness, their woundings. It's on the platter, like for them to go, oh boy, I'm so ready to let this go as well, you know. And I feel like, and actually, Danitza, when you were speaking before about the death process, and I was thinking the Aboriginal people in Australia, ideally, when they're going to die, they take themselves off into the bush and they go. And there's a very famous Aboriginal musician called Gurumul, and he was in the hospital getting ready to die, and he disappeared into the bush. So it was in the media, and went back to the cosmos, where they go, where they believe that they go, which is such a beautiful kind of, you know, birth and death are such a small part of their full cycle that they honor. And we really have excuse me, lost touch so much with that, the way that we intervene. And I'm sure later, if you know, with being a death doula like that, you know, you see that. But it is such a potent time, isn't it? It's such a sacred time and such a special time. And we do have so many remedies that can really help honor the spirit in that process. Obviously, most of us won't go off into the bush and let that happen. We probably will be around our loved ones or whatever. But we do have so many beautiful remedies to help our spirit move to the next realm. You know, a couple that, you know, and Eugenie, you've just been through this as well with your mum. It's big. It's scorpionic, isn't it?
It is, and Pluto is retrograde, so all of these things are, of course, coming up to the surface. The Sami people, the indigenous people of Finland, where actually the water is from, because you know, it's from up north. when a child is born, they get their own yoik. It's like a lullaby. And when the person dies, they sing the yoik. And I know that's also in West Africa and some cultures. And I think that's so touching. So it's like you call in the soul and you say goodbye to the soul with a song. That's your unique like fingerprint.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Mm.
And there's
My-
something for me that's really special about how death is and can be celebrated as a transition. It's not an ending, it's a transition. And I've been really reflecting in what I've been writing recently, in how in the old world, there was this split between spiritual life and science. And I say science because I believe that there's a very narrow expression of science that I don't think is truly science. And then there's this wider expression of science that's about possibilities and openness and discovery and exploration. And in that bigger definition, in that bigger openness, there's room for connecting with a more spiritual aspect of life and a greater understanding of the fact that we're here just for a short time, but that we have a soul, and that our soul is endless and timeless. And to hear this kind of transition back into, if you like, a reconnection, a recognition, a remembering of that as part of the whole journey that we're here to experience. I think it's such a gift to be here in these times, watching us all kind of reconnect with that wisdom.
I had the most interesting thing happen. So in April last year, for the first time in my life, I booked in to see a medium. Now, this lady is very well known and she books out a year in advance. So it was about April, May last year that I booked in with her to see her in May this year. I've never seen a medium before in my life. I've only ever once seen a psychic. That was maybe 10 years ago. It's the only time ever. So, and the psychic 10 years ago said, you know, you just need to trust yourself. That's the message I got out of it. So I'm like, okay, thanks, lady, for telling me I shouldn't have come here. And I'm not going to go to psychics again because I just need to trust myself. But then a year ago, I was like, I really feel like going and seeing a medium to connect with my dad who passed away 4 years ago. And so I had this booking. And then from about January, February, I kept on emailing this woman and saying, can't you get me in earlier? Can't you get me in earlier? She's like, no, I don't get any cancellations. You know, people wait a year to come and see me. They're not going to cancel. So it was so interesting because my booking with her was the week after my mum passed away. So it was actually, was that the 17th of May I was booked in with her, and the 3rd of May my mum passed away. So was that 2 weeks after? And it was really interesting, the things that she said and things that nobody ever could have, she couldn't have found it on Facebook. She couldn't have, like, none of my friends knew it. The things that she told me was just amazing. And it was the most incredible thing being able to connect with her in that way. Actually, when I walked in, she said, your mum gave you that ring. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you know? She's like, your mum's just told me. And then the way that she's told, the way that she's saying these things. And yeah, it was actually a really, really special gift. And I just couldn't help but just once again thinking, you can't force things. Like, everything works out as it should. And the messages that she gave me out of that was just so, so healing and so beautiful. And I thought, you know, I was pushing that so much at the start of the year. If I did get that appointment, I wouldn't have had this gift to have been able to connect in this way with my mum. And my dad came through as well. And also, once again, things, you know, was given gifts that there's no way anybody could have, like, there's no way she could have found that out. Like, nobody else would know these things. And so it was really, really super special.
What a gift that you had with her. Just truly amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of you have seen mediums, or I many years ago studied at the College of Psychic Studies and got to see some really amazing things. And I'm very good friends with some mediums. But there was a moment where I remember thinking, this is undeniable. When I went to see a medium it's the year of the tsunami. And I went in the August because I was selling a house. I was supposed to be going traveling, selling my place, going traveling. And the plan was with my then husband to be on a beach in Bali for when the tsunami happened. And the flat wasn't selling, or it was a maisonette actually, it was kind of a house flat. It wasn't selling, and there were different problems with it. And someone said, why don't you go see a medium? And I went to see a medium. And I'd never seen her before. She didn't know me. And I sat down and I said, I'm trying to sell my place and it's just not selling. And this was the August. And she said to me, she said, you would take yourself somewhere in the world where there would be some massive big earth event. It will either be like an earthquake or like some big event. And you're being saved from being there when it happens. And I didn't think anything of it other than, oh, okay. And we accepted an offer for when it sold on Christmas Eve. So I couldn't have completed the sale and flown in time to get there, which was the plan. So when it happened, aside from, of course, you know, being utterly, you know, really taken with the tragedy of it all, I just remember thinking, shit, I got told that. You're gonna have to put expletives, warning, definitely. I was like, shit. And you know, there are some things that we cannot explain that really, you know, just are proved through these incredible arts of connecting with spirit, connecting with our loved ones. It's so beautiful, the gift that they can give us.
As I was sitting there, I was thinking it must be hard work, because I'm sure this lady has spirits knocking on her door all the time. And, you know, that they know obviously that the loved one is on the way. And so they're like, come on, lady, talk to me. So, but I'm sure they have their ways of kind of, you know, protecting their energy. So.
Yeah, good boundaries, I think, need to be established, especially in that field.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in any helping field, but that one where you can be, yeah.
And then I just want to say also that I am trying to con Sarah into coming to Perth as well. Because
it's an easy con.
Well,
so you don't have to try that hard.
it was so interesting because you know, mum passed away on the 3rd of May, and then I saw the psychic on the 17th of May, and then the 18th I was booked in to go make a medicine drum, so it was like the next day. And so it was an all-day event from 9 o'clock in the morning till 7:30 at night, making this drum out of deer skin in this teepee on this sacred ground with so much ceremony. I mean, we were saged like 50 times that day with, you know, it's like every time you enter the teepee, you know, you're saged and drummed, and it was the most unbelievable experience. So I just feel like between you ladies and creating this beautiful drum and seeing the medium and my amazing family here as well, like I've been so held through this process, and my mum is with me every single day in every thing that I do all the time. So yeah, it is it's amazing. It's you know, like now and again it catches me. It caught me this morning when I was brushing my teeth and I burst out crying. Like, you know, you just don't know when it's going to catch you. But yeah, it is amazing to have all of you beautiful ladies. So thank you so much for all your help and advice. And yeah, it's just, I've got something very special going here. I'm so excited for where homeopathy is headed. I'm excited for our monthly chats. It's so hard coordinating all of our schedules, but I hope we can have many more of these, because I certainly really enjoy them. I know our listeners do as well, because we had so much lovely feedback from the previous one.
Beautiful.
Would anybody like to finish off on some wise words? I know some of you have got clients and some of you have got other bits and pieces going. We've already got shit, fucking sex toys, so anything goes. So, so you don't have to keep it tame if there's anything that comes to your consciousness that you want to share.
I think what's happening is there's a really deep remembering going on, and technology is allowing us to remember on an even deeper level, because we're able to connect with so many more of our, you know, of our friends and our souls. Anamkara, what they call here in Ireland, our soul friends. And yeah, I think that's really important. The work that's unfolding isn't just because of the remembering, but it's also because of the technology that it's allowing us to connect, to remember on that deep level. So yeah, I think it's a really good thing. You know, remember who your friends are and connect deeply with them, and yeah, expand that kind of that feeling. Yeah, so thanks, ladies. Amazing.
Thanks, Janie.
You had your chance to use expletives and you didn't use it. Alrighty, ladies, so much love to all of you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you, everyone. So much love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.